Good afternoon. On behalf of Engineers Australia, I'm delighted to welcome you all to today's webinar, Insights that Drive Projects Autodesk Cloud. My name is Megan Purdy and I'll be your host for today. Now, firstly, in keeping with our custom, Engineers Australia acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to them and their cultures and to elders past and present. Now, before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that today's webinar is being hosted with Engineers Australia's industry partner, Arcance. Arcance, oops, I just went too far. Arcance ANZ specialises in providing tailored digital solutions and services to the construction, engineering and manufacturing industries, focusing on enhancing efficiency, productivity and collaboration. Part of the global Arcance network, Arcance ANZ has over 30 years of experience. The ANZ division leverages this expertise to serve the unique needs of clients in Australia and New Zealand. Arcance's ANZ strategic direction centres on driving innovation, efficiency and sustainability in the construction, engineering and manufacturing industries. Their focus is on empowering businesses with tailored digital solutions, best practices and software agnostic expertise. Now today, we'll hear from our 4 panellists, followed by our audience Q&A. So I encourage you all to please send your questions through to our speakers via the chat box. So the first thing we'll do today is we will welcome our panellists. So I'll start with yourself, Mike Kane, who is our technical consultant at Arcance. Mike.
Thanks, Megan. Hey all. So my name's Mike Kane, lead technical consultant at Arcance. I spend a lot of time working with people who are potentially exploring ACC as future fit for their business, but I do a lot of work in projects as well. Over the course of the last 12, 18 months, I've worked on multiple government projects with a range of different asset owners, tier 1, subbies, architects, engineers, obviously. So I'm in quite an interesting position because I get to see a lot of different projects. And, even though people have similar outcomes, everybody goes about achieving those outcomes in different ways.
Thanks, Mike. I'd now like to introduce our second speaker, Letitia Pescador, who's also from Arcance.
Megan. So my role in Arcance, I've been working for the past 9 years as a technical consultant, just driving transformation through being workflows with companies. And on the past few months, I just took the ACC project management role to drive those projects that we're running with our clients. Yeah.
Awesome, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next panelist is Darren Puglisi, who's the Associate Director from ACOM.
How you doing? Good afternoon all. My name is Darren Puglisi. I work for ACOM and I'm the digital lead for QNT here in Brisbane. My role is predominantly on the design side. On to.
Thanks, Darren. And our final panelist today is Trent Field, Technical Consultant, Arcance.
Thanks, Megan. So I'm Trent Field, lead consultant for Autodesk Construction Cloud at Arcance. I help support our clients in their movements into the ACC space. My background's from the AEC industry. Spent nearly 20 years in that realm and helped transition GHD into ACC as of last year as the global leader for ACC.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all. Welcome. So what we might do is kick off today's discussion. Now, for everyone in the audience, please remember we'll be taking our audience questions at the end of the discussion. So we'd really appreciate it if you do have any questions along the way, if you could please submit those into the chat box. And don't forget to let me know who that question is directed to. But what we might do is kick off today. So Mike, probably this question will be for yourself. If you could give us a high-level understanding of what Autodesk Construction Cloud is.
Yeah, awesome. Good question. Helps to obviously, I'm sure a lot of people on this call already know and are familiar with the platform. For those who don't though, ACC, Autodesk Construction Cloud, is the new kid on the block in terms of construction technology. Autodesk released AutoCAD in the 80s, ended up on the New York Stock Exchange, then started developing or acquiring other design tools. Most recently, they started making acquisitions in the construction and design world. 2011, they acquired Horizontal Glue. Vela Systems. They became BIM 360. They then acquired PlanGrid, which was an app-first software tool for people on site pushing data back to trailer and office teams. They then went and acquired Assemble Building Connector Pro and Pipe. And all of those tools have been integrated into a single platform. They didn't crunch the technology together. They started with zero, like literally a line of code, and building up all of those functionalities into the one platform. The key differentiator between it and any other construction tool on the market is it's the only one that truly goes from the early stages of design all the way through design, all the way through pre-construction, construction, and then the operation and maintenance phase of your assets. So literally from your first day of concept design till the day you demolish that asset, you can be working out of one single platform.
End to end.
Yep.
So Trent, following on from that, what do you see as the most exciting things with regards to the latest developments in the Autodesk Construction Cloud? And I suppose, what are your thoughts with how they're transforming engineering and construction workflows?
Good question. So the last predominantly 6 months, we've seen quite a few implementations that have come through into the platform. Namely, probably top of the list for me is the Insight Builder. So it's Autodesk version of a BI platform to compete directly with Power BI, implementing directly the information from the data connector and data source itself into a BI platform that users can implement themselves onto projects and give them analytics and reporting at account and project levels, which is really good. We've seen a few changes lately onto QR code generation for builders, which is really good to be able to implement that now. Don't have to have your own third-party tools to be able to do that, which is awesome. The handover function is probably one of the biggest ones this year, to be able to formally hand over our documentation outside of ACC, which has been incredibly important for a lot of our customer base. A lot of these tool sets are evolving over time. We're seeing it's still a very infinite. The product itself is in its infancy, so there's a long way to go, but we can see where Autodesk are positioning themselves as a real market leader in this space, especially for construction-based information.
Can I jump in there for a second? Just kind of bigger picture thing. So Autodesk in-house have over 1,200 software developers, and over 750 of those are focused on the development of ACC wholly and solely. So every 2 months they push out new features, tools, workflows, UI enhancements. Last year we saw over 300, right? This year we're already over 150. So every 2 months it's like Christmas for us, which is awesome. So it's a platform, not only is it super robust as it stands, but it's moving ahead in leaps and bounds, right?
With Autodesk University coming out, we'll definitely see a huge product update coming in that space. Generally around that time, we will see probably the biggest one this year. So look out in the next couple of weeks. There'll be a massive shift.
So Darren, from, I suppose, your role, what do you see? So for engineering and construction leaders who are just maybe beginning their ACC journey, what do you see are the key steps you'd recommend to ensure, I suppose, the end goal is long-term success and value?
Yeah, value and ease of use is probably the two that I'd use highly. Training.
Yep.
You got to train your people how to use these platforms. If they're used incorrectly, they will cause you no end of hell. But it's relatively simple. There's things you can set up early that you can adopt. Templates, I use the word template a lot in our business. We have a template for an internal project and a template for an external project. Pretty much it's simple coordination or harder coordination projects for those two. The use of the functionalities, teams, getting your teams correct at the start is a game changer for the publish and consuming. Other things, data attributes, using that to name your files within ACC gives you a bit of control. So it takes away from the end user being able to name files incorrectly. Other than that, it's not a Dropbox. The amount of times people have dropped files incorrectly onto ACC, Revit files, having to explain to them you need to make it a cloud shared model before it will work. The amount of Teams messages I get on the daily I can't see the file. Have you put it up as a cloud sharing file? Like, and again, it comes back to industry training. People go, oh, it's an online thing. I just drag and drop stuff. No. So yeah, number one fundamental with anything is training, and then running catch-ups every couple of months, even on projects. Asking the question, what isn't working, what is working, and then working it out. There's all the consultants are using it now, so there's forums everywhere. There's information out there everywhere. But number one, training. Two, templating, getting your teams right, and consistency. So if you set up a project today, doesn't matter if it's from my Sydney, Bangalore, New York office, there's a template on our system that's generated every time. The folder structure is exactly the same. Everyone knows where stuff is. So yeah.
Knowing the platform's moving ahead in leaps and bounds, how do you manage that change or those changes with your teams? Are you doing a lot of face-to-face training? Do you run an LMS that's constantly being updated?
Yeah, it's a combination of the two. Yeah. Depends on the project. So we've got a couple of global projects, so obviously it has to be done by teams. But yeah, the LMS system that we've got, so for me to request a project, it goes through a system within AECOM, which is generated automatically. So it's, if they change the structure or if there's new features that become available, that tick box will come up in the sheet when I request a project. Being design consultants, we don't use the full suite, obviously, because generally our jobs run up to the construction phase and then it's handed off to the subbies.
Sorry, mate. So when they push out new changes, do you guys have like a global steering committee that do testing against those new functions?
Yes, so we wouldn't take on live projects, we wouldn't take those new functions until they're tested, obviously. Generally, we're given test beds. Right. To we've got what we call sandboxes to go and play in. So we create
place to break stuff.
Exactly right. So we'll take project A and put it into a sandbox and try and break it, pretty much. So we don't ever implement anything new on a live project because that's just common sense. Yeah. We'll take that project as it is as an instance, snapshot in time, drop it into a sandbox, test the facilities, test the new releases, and it's the same with an Autodesk update. Like we all cringe when that update comes through and go, "Oh no, what's going to happen?" So you don't ever do stuff on live projects.
It's the great thing about Aussies, part of our organisation being global, we've got a big presence in Europe, big presence in the US, and here obviously. Yep. Aussies aren't PC. We try and break stuff, which is awesome. So we give real feedback to the vendors, of where it works and where it has problems.
Yeah, there's a common saying in our office: trust nobody, check everything. And I think our European guys don't quite get that Aussie grasp, but it's all good. It's all good. They come on for the ride. But the European and the American regions, our APAC region, between the three, we'll sit down and test before we roll out across the board on those templates.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Well, from that, like Letitia, because it's all about change management, that's what we're talking about. So what challenges have you seen when, organisations are transitioning to that more connected, data-driven delivery model? And I suppose what advice or, what insights have you been able to see with organisations and how they can best support their teams through the change?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is resistance to change. This is, I think, number one challenge we face with clients, the fear of have that data availability to everyone, the fear of everyone seeing what you're doing, where the delays are happening, which is like common across everyone. Sometimes it's also lack of governance, as you said, like consistency, having standards in place, etc. And I think the best piece of advice for them is pretty much make sure the vision is clear of why they move into the new platform. Make that clear to the users so they really embrace the tools. Choose your champions, the ones that are going to be trying, specifying their workflows, people that are willing to learn the platform, not only that knows the processes, and pilot projects to test, validate, and then train and support the users moving forward.
Yeah, we kind of, I guess our team, we're 10 techs, and we are working on multiple projects at any one point in time. Yeah. And we know when you look at ACC across the entire platform, it's a beast, right? And if you try and throw everything at users at one time, it's going to become a change management nightmare. From a user adoption perspective, it's going to fail. Whereas if you work across your different horizons and roll out certain features, functionality through time, that change becomes a really positive thing. And obviously that's what you want.
Yeah.
A lot of it is around the buy-in as well.
Mhm.
The buy-in and the support within the business is crucial for this
Yeah.
to work.
Understanding the why.
Yeah.
It's easy enough for one person to have a great idea and say, look, I want to go on the ACC. That's awesome. What can I do? It can do all these amazing things. But if you don't have the buy-in from the business and support at the top level, nothing can get driven, within the business itself.
Yeah,
and we
the
find that
Wild
with,
West.
Yeah.
exactly, it's open slather pretty much at that point. Is if you've got the buy-in, the support, then you can put some standards in place and goal setting within that. And that's something that we always talk about with clients, that change management piece is crucial for this to work, and not just now, but in the future as well. So it's, yes, you got a plan, let's implement it, but what does the next 6 months look like? What does 12 months or 24 months? It's, this is a long term.
It's a governance
Yeah.
thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes back to governance. Like anything, it's just because it's ACC. It comes down to governance.
Yeah, we start with what we call discovery, which is where we work one-on-one with clients, understanding their tools, their processes, their workflows, their pain points, and what that utopian state can kind of look like, right? And then we collate all of that information into a discovery report, which is essentially a statement of work. We break down all of the horizons through that. So we're not trying to throw everything at people at all at once. We look at, okay, well, what's the timeline the client needs to get this rolled out to whatever point? And then we break down those milestones so that we're slowly feeding the organisation new tools, new functions through time.
Yeah, and I think if you try to adapt to their current workflows instead of reinventing the wheel, so it's not this big scary,
100%.
Mhm.
you used to work this way.
Mate,
It's practically the same. It's just stored somewhere else and a
World
little bit more
Wars have
smoother
started
and
over
sleek.
folder
And,
structures, right?
naming conventions and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. It's the little gritty stuff that people get buried in.
Mhm.
That's one of the things I found in a global corporation. So I've done this way for 20 years. It's like, well,
Oh,
catch up or get left behind. It's as
Yeah.
easy as that.
A few of the clients that we've worked closely with, national businesses, offices all around the country,
Yeah.
and every single one of those branches does things differently. They'll do it phenomenally well,
Yeah.
but there is no national standards. And that's part of the idea for them to introduce ACC, is to give them that standardization across the board. Once you have that standardization as well, we're sort of future-proofing ourselves, because, as AI technology starts to improve, then we've got structured data that we can start querying.
Interrogating it.
Yeah.
And it's easy
So-
to interrogate.
Yeah, that's it. Lots of good positive
Yeah,
wins around standardization.
It makes my role a lot easier because I can sit over the top and view stuff a lot easier through the ACC platform
Yep.
on various projects. Whereas if it was, going back 6-7 years, it was buried on servers in
Yeah.
Adelaide server, Sydney server, Brisbane server, KL server, wherever. It's a lot easier for me now to get across stuff.
That's it. We're giving senior management teams visibility over the entire portfolio, right, which they've never had before.
Yeah.
Traditionally they've requested information from the project. By the time they receive it, it's redundant, and they're never quite sure how true it is. They've got that real-time visibility at a project level, but
It's
also
just
portfolio.
data scraping now, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's all there.
Yep.
For the taking.
Well, it's good. Now we're making data-driven decisions as opposed to kind of guessing how we think things are, or where we think things are at.
If I can jump in. So, Mike, if you could maybe share how ACC has improved quality assurance, or, how you've seen it reduce or rework in projects of those, clients that you are working with.
Yeah, awesome. There's a lot to unpack there, and this is probably about an 8-hour conversation, which I'm going to condense into about 3 minutes.
Awesome.
One of the keys is around collaboration, because underpinning the entire platform, so design, pre-con, construction, operation and maintenance, is your common data environment. So everyone is working off a single source of truth. Okay, we're collaborating across that information. We've got unlimited storage. We're automatically versioning up all of our documents and design, so everyone knows they're working off the latest and greatest. Everything's permission controlled, but it's really about that collaboration. It's about building up those data records as we push through the project through the various phases. We're using tools like the issues tool, which I'm not going to kind of bog down on this, but we're working smarter across the entire project. There's a lot of good wins that obviously save us time, reduce variations, ensure that we're hitting our schedule milestones, and that we're, reducing impacts to cost. That, project creep.
Yeah. So Darren, to pull you in with regards from your experience, how you see that single source of truth across all project phases, how it's impacted collaboration, communication between the project stakeholders.
Yeah, so the big one for me is historical data. In our business, we're open to claims a fair bit. People will come after us for various reasons. We have all that historical data, so we can pinpoint at what stage of the project. So generally we share and consume once a week. So I have a digital log every single week of milestones through the project, so we can see when things have changed, why they changed. There's commentary around the model, and it's all stored in that centralized location. So for the life of the project, the analogy I use is if someone comes along to the project that has no history of the project, they can see it's all there in the background. They can see the milestones that have come through, the things that have changed. Plant rooms are a sticky one for us. The architect will want a nice little pretty plant room, but the mechanical guy will say, well, no, you need twice as much room for twice as much equipment, and then it changes the whole aspect. And that's the conversational piece. So historical data is the main one for me. And going it back before, as I said earlier, my earlier comments was consistency. So we're consistently sharing, consuming our models in a consistent way. It's always in that folder, in the file structure, and it goes back to templating again. Onboarding a new person to a project is much easier because we can say, right, here's a simple how-to guide for our ACC. All your consume folders are always here. Here is where you find everything else. An internal project's done this way, an external project's done this way. Off you go. There's none of this guesswork where we lock the folders down and they can't create new folders or move things, or certain people can't do certain things. It's not like the server. The server was Wild West, where we have governance on ACC and we can control what happens and where things are. So, yeah, consistency is the main thing.
You have that historic record of all of your documents and designs,
yeah,
right?
through the life of the project, you can
That's
overlay
it.
them and you can see them. That's the beauty of it. There's versionings of there. People see like version 308. They're like, oh, we don't need that many things. Well,
Who cares?
Who cares?
Unlimited
We've
data.
got unlimited data. We've got unlimited storage. You give me as many backups as possible. If we have corrupt files, I can grab the one from last night or whatever.
From a historic perspective too, the fact that, single click we can archive a project, it's archived in its complete state, single click to restore it, and you have that full data record there. I've seen court cases get resolved very quickly as a result of the ability to interrogate that historic data, which normally people struggle with.
And the other big one that has helped us a lot is upgrading projects from various versions of Revit. Our business in buildings and places, 100% Revit, all disciplines outside of civil. And the amount of times we have architects come on board, the latest and greatest Revit versions, and they're like, oh, we want to do 2025 or 2026, and we've got 100 models in 2024. So that upgrade on ACC is brilliant. To be able to do that. I used to have to do it on the server, and it was painful. You had to open up one, save it, wait for it to crash, and then save it back. And so to get that log and that log file, I would recommend taking a copy of stuff still. Check everything, trust no one. that old adage. But yeah, generally that has been a game changer for us. And we've had historical problems with older versions of Revit, older projects that, an old project from 2021 or something like that comes back live and they want some variation work done to it. Generally, my rule of thumb is upgrade the whole project. Because Autodesk aren't supporting the older versions anymore. Is it 2 years now? 4. So it's 4 years back. So a lot of those older projects, if we have variation works, I generally go through and upgrade it to the latest version. Send the email out to the team. We're on 25 now, and have at it.
It just helps with that standardization thing, right?
Exactly right. And it's same with our content library. We store our content library there now, so it's easy to upgrade year to year. Because again, in my previous role as structures lead, I had to manage the structural content, and again, upgrading that from year to year was a painful process. But bang on ACC, and you just automatically do it. So it's quite good.
Awesome. Thank you. Letitia, what practical tips would you share for teams looking to extract more value from their project data through ACC?
I think the guys have been already talking about those points, right? I think the robust template in ACC is number one, defining the standards to be easy to search for data, etc. Another point is pretty much review what you have in ACC. So go back, reassess, see what's working, what needs to be refined, and continuous ongoing learning about the platform, implement, train people as well, make sure you are across what's happening as the latest changes and updates to be able to then utilize on your projects. I think those are pretty much
Really important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, everything we do around ACC isn't stagnant. It's constantly evolving with the platform, and every 2 months we get upgrades to it. But it's about, okay, how does it affect us as a business, and then what do we do with it over time? How do we upgrade the templates, the structures, anything that we're doing within ACC itself? We've seen a whole heap of new regions just being added. So now let you go, right, what residency do we want our data in, depending on locations across the company, which is good for guys like ACOM. Like, you can have all these location centers now, which is awesome. For me, it's about the searchability of data is paramount now. We can find our data a lot easier, which we just haven't been able to do before. We can check that it's been verified, make sure it's the latest version, come in at any time and go, right, I knew at this point in time, this is the information I need to use, which is critical in the construction design industries.
Yeah, when you look at like the July release, there were 35 new features, tools, workflows, right? Not all of those features are going to be applicable to all companies. So we do a lot of work with our clients where we'll sit down and we'll go through the releases. Obviously, we need to do that for our own knowledge, but then present to our clients' steering committees on what tools we think are the most value to them, just to save them time so they're not having to spend time trying to test, work things out. We've got a good understanding of our client and the sort of tools that would assist them to, in terms of efficiency or automation. But yeah, it helps them out, and it's always fun for us, right? Because it's like Christmas.
I mean, if anyone's ever looked at a release note for it, you can look at it and go, I have no idea what this means. So for us to go off and test it and go, actually, real world applications means this, this, and this. We can break it, we can test it and say, Autodesk, can you fix this because it's actually not working properly? But it's also come to the client to say, you may not have understood this tiny little piece of information in there, but the impact for you guys is X.
Can I jump in? We were talking about things like changing. So my question, there's a lot of AI talk at the moment. So probably the question is and maybe Trent, you've got the mic. As AI and automation begin to play a larger role in construction tech, how do you see ACC evolving in the next few years to support this, I suppose, even smarter delivery?
Yeah, that's a good question. AI is the hot topic. So it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's utilizing it. If you're not, then you're going to be falling behind pretty quickly. We use it day to day with everything we do. Every part of our structure has some sort of AI around it, just because we want to reduce manual tasking to make us more efficient, to be able to do the things to deliver that we need to. In an Autodesk sense, they're obviously positioning themselves to do a lot of AI. If you've been around that Autodesk space for long enough, you've heard them talk about it. Every single AU has been functioned around that AI at some course. They've had AI directly in platform for 6 years now with Construction IQ. So that's been around since BIM 360 days, where it reads the data within a BIM 360 or an ACC environment and produces risk assessments against projects. They brought in the Autodesk Assistant now, which lets you do searchability across specifications and then future potential for RFIs and submittals. I see the assistant side really taking off over the next, hopefully 12 months, if not the next 6, where your whole platform will revolve around some kind of AI chatbot instance, at least. Analytics side, we see it everywhere. I'm personally utilizing the AI functionality with Autodesk Platform Services to see how we can automate and bring out future potential with the platform to integrate into APIs and things like that. There's so much power, and the data that lives in an ACC project. We need to be able to use it and the potential around it, and creating, using AI to search on it, to develop, smarter products for analytics is key for us as an industry. There's lots and lots of talks around it. There's a really good one from a guy called Andrew Ng that I've been following recently, and he talks about currently the way that construction firms are using spreadsheets. In the future, they'll be using AI to do the same thing. And that's the direction we're going in as an industry.
I'm a little bit sick of everyone talking about AI. I love AI. I'm massively immersed, but I'm sick of people talking about it. But to put it in perspective, Autodesk released their first white paper on Generate in 2011, right? And they've released over 90, I think it's 97 white papers to date. So it's not like they're like a lot of vendors where they're just jumping on the bandwagon now. These guys have been heavily immersed for a long time, which is awesome.
We've been talking a lot about, I suppose, in a consultancy, but probably how do engineering teams streamline the data capture in the field? I'm interested in like if you're on a project, how do they actually capture that data in the field? And are you seeing any benefits in terms of, the decision making and the results which are coming out? And maybe this might be from yourselves with clients that you have, and Darren from your world too.
Yeah. So on a design, I'll go from the design side. So the design side data, we use Assemble a lot as a plugin, which we can pretty much data scrape and review and check. So we do a lot of auditing on not only our own but external clients' data. In the field, we mainly track installation through data. So we have our techs on site, engineers on site, fill out various forms of data, let it be in Revit or in Revisto or something similar.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have installed and dates, and we can start filtering out stuff and color coding models and saying, and that's another one where the claims from site, whereas, ex builder will say, well, we've installed said awning, and we can quite quickly see in the data that they haven't. So we use it, again, it's data validation. We do a lot of validation. So with Assemble, we can scrape that data down quite quickly and use Power BI and the likes to create generative tables. But generally, I'm a visualization man. So we have views set up in Revit. We can color code red, green, traffic light systems. So generally, that's what we use it for in the design space.
Mm-hmm.
On the builder side, it's probably more your guys.
Yeah. Look, mobile app in ACC is phenomenal. The original tech came from PlanGrid, but they developed a hell of a lot on top of that. From a progress tracking perspective, the ability to walk around on site, update markups to the different statuses, and they're all customizable. But the fact that you've got people on site, regardless of whether or not they are in a connected environment, they can be working online or offline, but accessing all of the information, completing their forms, doing whatever they need to, and that data is being pushed back to your trailer and field teams instantly is phenomenally powerful. The mobile app is awesome. Like, it has slightly different functionalities and workflows to what the web app does, which make total sense from a mobile perspective. But it's,
it's fit for purposes.
100%. It was designed app first. That's it.
Awesome. Letitia, I was really interested in, for our audience watching, so they come from, engineers from a range of different organisations, but maybe focusing on the smaller firms out there, or for smaller projects just starting out with digital delivery. Is there like a lightweight version or a lightweight to begin using ACC before scaling up?
Yeah, definitely. So we're seeing a big trend of smaller organizations trying to use ACC. And of course, the guys are talking about templates. And if you are a small organization that you don't have the resources or the time to put into that, Arcans, we created what we call a product service offering, which is pretty much a quick start guide and for an implementation of ACC for smaller companies focused on specific workflows. So just from a docs perspective, to use docs as a single source of truth, or to do design collaboration and coordination and reviews of the design in the cloud, or just build for those that are on field. So we put that together specifically to enable the clients to have some sort of customization to the platform without the need to do that themselves. So they have a start, and then from there, they can start being more familiar with the tool, and then start expanding on the tools they are using on the projects, which has been a great win from our clients' perspective to leverage the knowledge from the techs.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at a base level, you see a lot of the smaller firms coming across just to integrate their Autodesk specific tool sets across. So something like a Revit, where you can directly implement it straight into an ACC environment and get immediate impact by cloud work sharing, having common data environment, folder structures and permissions in there. A lot of our client base, we always talk about positioning a slow burn to start with. We don't like throwing them in the deep end and then that's it. We want to make sure that they're successful, and building success is starting small and then looking at the tool set over time and say, what can we do? We've got into the door now. What else is within this platform pretty much? And, from construction firms or asset owners, it could be something like digitizing forms and things like that, or just correspondence. Like, a lot of our clients struggle with emails. There's emails everywhere and no one can find them because no one has a clue. That person might have left the company 6 months ago and now you can't track any of the emails down. So how do we just get the emails into a platform that everyone can, it's structured, it can be viewed, and we can archive it over time?
We're pretty lucky though, because of our position, the different types of projects we work with, different companies we work with, we do have quite a unique view of the platform. So we're in a position where we can give good guidance because, we understand the world those clients live in and what the best benefits they'll get out of the platform.
Well, we've been talking a lot about, that this is something which is available and should be used end to end on a project. But I was just actually wondering, is anyone using ACC beyond that project delivery? So really during the operations and as part of the handover, have you seen experience of that?
Can I jump in there? Yeah. A lot actually. We're working with multiple different asset owners. Asset owners, there's a huge win for them with ACC because they care about design, pre-con, they care about the construction and the operation and maintenance. Even though they're bringing in a lot of consultants to do the work on their behalf, they want to oversee it. So we see a lot of asset owners are adopting ACC, retail, education, tourism, and they benefit from the entire platform. Those guys, they want to ensure those assets get delivered quickly, on time, on budget, but then throughout the entire life cycle of that asset till the day it's demolished or got to be refurbed.
That includes maintenance as well, so they can quite really dig into data that's in the design models for
100%
for maintenance, and they can put that into their own AIM systems that set off alarms saying, GPU 44 needs to be serviced in 3 months, and then they can automatically book in a guy to come and do it. And that's the sort of stuff that I've seen. Yeah,
that's it. Well, because we're within the assets tool, within the build tool set, we can walk around on site, scan a QR code with a mobile device. It opens up that asset. And you've got that whole record of the asset, all of the warranties, the spec sheets, all of the forms, the ITPs, photos, issues, everything's against the asset. So it's all presented to you for the life cycle of it. It's super powerful.
Awesome. I thought I might look at some of our live questions coming through. So I can see that we've got one. I'm just pulling it up. Nope, it's gone. So, So Mahintan has a question. Autodesk Construction Cloud is streamlined for fast-paced construction. However, there are lags when launched on browsers. Would this be a PC hardware or cloud network speed issue?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cloud-based platform, so it's built around your network performance. There are potential bottlenecks depending on how complex your system is for your company. If it's you directly from home, it might not be as bad because you won't have all the blockers in between. But working with, and this is something I've had over my time, is working directly with your IT counterparts to understand the network configuration, to see what is actually part of your architecture, seeing where potential bottlenecks are. If you need to have direct access to the internet, is something that a lot of firms go into now, so you can get straight out the door rather than it going through a couple of different places.
Dedicated ports.
Yeah, dedicated ports. VPNs always become an issue. Browser as well. So there's recommended browsers for ACC directly. Making sure you're using the right browser is obviously important. There's always something around it, but it's not going to be your hardware. It won't be a computer based. It's always going to be through the cloud.
Yeah, up until 18 months ago, we had a choice of our data being either in the US or EMEA. March last year-ish, they released their AU data centers, so all data resides in Australia. I spend my life still working out of the US data stores, and latency is minimal. And it's when I'm showing people ACC, I say to them, like, this is bouncing to Virginia and back. So keep that in mind when you look at, how long we're waiting, and it is minimal. Nowadays with data stores in Melbourne and Sydney, obviously that latency is reduced significantly.
Yeah, one thing I do want to touch on is probably the model size as well. So we have the model viewer that's in the web at the moment. It is getting a huge upgrade, hopefully very soon. This is a lot about and it comes back to good practice of how you've set your models up to start with. If you've got lots of models, they're 2+ gig each, it's going to be quite intensive for that model viewer to actually unpack it. So it's looking at, okay, how can we structure our Revit models better, or other models for IFCs, whatever it's going to be in a civil sense as well. And then structuring in a way that the model viewer will be workable for you. So you can come in there, you can click on it, it's not going to lag, there won't be time spent just waiting for it to sit there. Hopefully over time with the new model viewer, obviously that'll help as well. But a lot, it comes back to not just the web doing it, it's your practices yourself as a company.
Yeah, that also comes down to the published views directly out of Revit, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I work on a lot of infrastructure projects, and you've got 10 or 12 train stations along a 42k line. You don't want, if you're talking about station A, you don't want that 42k in your export view. Trim it down.
Yeah.
The amount of times where you go extents and it just goes and you don't see anything. It's common practice, but it's not common sense isn't that common. I say it quite a lot. What you publish will go to ACC, and what you see is what other people see, and you don't need to be generating 42 kilometres of rail alignment when you're trying to coordinate around a station. So trim up your views, get rid of sheets that aren't needed to be exported. Again, I'm a firm believer of, I hate having placeholder sheets in Revit models. If it's a sheet and there's nothing on it, it doesn't belong in a model in my eyes. And this thing of when we publish models, I read execution plans that say you need to remove all the sheets and views from your models. I'm like, well, no, I'm giving you the whole hog. I'm giving you the sheets, I'm giving you the views. Yeah. We publish that stuff out for a reason, because it's part of the model. It's generated from the model, so it will go with the model. Placeholders and stuff have no places in models in my eyes. People will argue with me about that, but if there's nothing on a sheet, why is it in a model is my take on that.
Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
You mentioned horizontal.
Yep.
So obviously ACC came from the vertical world, or most people think it did, but then you're working on horizontal and big horizontal projects. How do you find it?
Perfectly fine.
Yep.
So that was the main argument a while back was, and various other platforms that we use was, that's a vertical soft why. It's just that way instead of that way. Horizontal works fine for us. So we've done 100 kilometres of road and infrastructure stuff in there, and it handles it fine. Again, I say fine, but you need to be very careful about what you're publishing into there. Don't give everyone the kitchen sink in the house if you don't need to give them the kitchen sink in the house. Choose what you publish in your views per discipline, because I'm dealing with projects that have 300-400 Revit models, various different disciplines, architects, and then we bring the civil guys into it in 12D, and depends on what state you work in, but you could be dealing with 300-400 models on an infrastructure project, and if they're all blown out, a model can be culled down by half easy in Revit easily enough if it's purged and cleaned up. That makes a massive difference in the viewer. And again, the comment online about viewing stuff, if it's slow on the viewer, generally I've found it's the internet. It's not the infrastructure, it's the internet. So, most people work a couple of days from home, myself included. I've got 5G internet at home, and I think it's better than my office most of the time. I've hotspotted off my phone on ACC in airports when I'm traveling overseas, that sort of thing. So I think it's not an infrastructure problem, it's an internet problem if it's slow. The platform handles it pretty well. Sometimes it takes a little while to generate the initial kick up, but yeah, linear is fine in my eyes. It struggles sometimes, but when you're dealing with 100 kilometres of infrastructure, you show me something that can handle it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, there is no perfect bit of software, right?
No, there's not.
It's kind of funny because
but you need to chop it up into manageable pieces.
Yeah, that's it.
So generally the buildings guys, we'll go like 50 metres from the station ends and slice that bit up. And, Station A, we have all that there in one piece and it can be viewed.
Yeah.
It's funny, like from a viewer watching live, hi James, his question was, one of the key considerations is ensuring that everyone has access to the right information at the right time, which means everyone needs a license. There's also several tools within the ACC platform, each of which are costed individually. Can you have different tools for different people, but in an integrated system? Is the first question. And then, what would you recommend as a minimum set of ACC tools?
Depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
So everything is permission controlled. We can control the different tools being used on different projects. We can control access to who gets what, who needs what, but it depends on what your role is, what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you said, it depends on if you come from the design world and you've got AEC collection with Revit in it, you get docs for free. So licensing comes directly into it. If you're an engineer, construction manager, it's slightly different. You'll need your own licensing set. And every company is different depending on their licensing requirements around it. So each tool that we have within an ACC environment has its licensing structure, but there's ways to get those licenses depending on what you're trying to do. And that's what our clients come and work with us with.
Yeah, I was with a uni yesterday, had a face-to-face meeting with them. They have design team, they have project teams. They're looking at two ends of the spectrum in terms of ACC tools. It's an entirely different conversation. So we split that conversation out. We speak to the design people about their needs, the project teams, and then we bring all of that together.
Another question which has come through live, it's around the system architecture. How customizable are the data architectures? Can you create different types of files, folders, structures, etc.?
Yes.
Yes.
Done.
You can't create within platform. You can bring files into ACC, but you can't create it directly from an ACC.
But from a folder structure perspective, you can have as many or as few templates as you like, and we always recommend keep it simple. Have a few templates. You might have minor works, major works, whatever. But each one of those will have a different folder structure, so you control those. There's no limit and there's no cost to that, so go nuts. And from there, you're controlling permissions over what data is coming into the system. You can basically put any data type into ACC. So obviously your 3D models, 2D designs, you can have all of your office documentation, you can collaborate on that in platform. You can view over 120 different file types natively in the system. You can have point cloud, LiDAR, 360 imagery. It all resides perfectly in there. The only stuff you can't put in ACC, things like executable files, HTML, file types you'd have no need to put into a construction, and I use that as a loose term, but a construction platform. And to be honest, it's a safeguard because it's the type of files that can carry malware. So they're doing you a bit of a favor there. Autodesk have a place on their website which shows all the supported viewable file types. Okay, so it lists those 120 odd different file types, and it also includes a list of all of the non-supported file types. So you can easily see what you can't put in there. I don't know of anybody to date that's tried to put a file into ACC that's had an issue because it's not supported. Yeah.
Doesn't belong there if it can't.
Yeah, that's right. 100%, mate.
We had a question which came through when our audience registered for today's webinar. It was from Rowan. How has the integration of Autodesk Cloud been synchronized with quality management frameworks?
Is that based off
Do
spec?
you want to talk?
Yeah,
We
I
can
mean,
start with
could be.
ISO, right?
ISO 9650.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big rabbit hole.
Yeah,
but
Yeah, it is. That's why we all took a deep breath.
Sorry, Trent. Should we hand it to Mike?
No, it's fine. I mean, it's an ISO 9650 compatible platform. It's certified for ISO compliance. I could talk about this for days, to be honest. If you come from the information management space, you know the standard very well. You know that CDs play a critical path into implementation. So quality management is built into the standard itself. That's what it's all about. It's about that process and workflows of how we start our project, its project lifecycle, all the way through to the asset lifecycle. So quality is built directly into platform. It's built around standards as well, and we can implement those standards to make it efficient within an ACC environment. That's a really 10-second pain point for me to get into, but ACC itself is compliant in this, and quality is built into everything that we do, and it's really important that we do build the quality into this, and we have that within the ACC world.
Did anyone want to add to that one?
I've been talking too much. Okay, I'll talk. Yeah, so one of the things we do with our clients, everybody has their own project phases and steps that they need to go to from infancy to completion, right? And with ACC, we want the tool to support those requirements, right? So we'll often look at those phases, break down each one of them, overlay, okay, so what is that process? What is that data flow? And then how do the tools support that? So it's super important that, when you're implementing any tool, not just ACC, that tool complements your internal compliance and audit requirements. And ACC supports it well because it's a very flexible open platform that you can set up and configure to ensure that you are meeting your own internal policies and requirements.
I've got another question which came in from registration, and it came through from Liang. And it was, how can connected data and Autodesk Construction Cloud improve collaboration? Which we may have addressed a bit earlier.
Liang, nice to see you, mate. Say hi to your mum. Yeah, I think we've kind of covered that one pretty well, right?
How it's a connected data environment rather than just a common data environment. So ACC itself, yes, it's a CDE, but it can connect to other systems as well with direct integrations, which is really important. It's one of the key parts of ACC is it is open to information coming within it. If you create it all through the outside of platform, you can use it as a central CDE, which is where the connection comes in.
Thank you. I'm just having a look. I think we've come to the end of all the questions that we've had for today that have come through. Unless anyone in our live audience have any more questions, please submit them now. What I thought I might do, though, I don't know if, Mike, did you have any questions that you'd like to pose?
I don't have any questions to pose, but I've got a bit of a comment just backing off that last question. So all this conversation's been around ACC. One of the key differentiators with ACC and a lot of other platforms out there is it is designed with open APIs. So it's designed to talk to other tools, right? We do integrations with everything from ERPs, CRMs, data and analytics, other tools out there, other cloud storages. People harp on about this common data environment, and for a lot of organizations, that is the perfect utopia, right? Single source of truth. But for large, complex organizations, it's more about collaborative data environments. So you don't have a single CDE, you have multiple CDEs that all have their own benefits, okay? And it's integrating those CDEs into that collaborative data environment. So there's a couple of options there, but Autodesk were very smart in the development of the platform, having those open APIs and giving us the ability to integrate with any and all tools. Because at the end of the day, there is never going to be the perfect world where everything sits in one bit of software, right? You're always going to have to use different tools, but the more we can make those tools talk to each other, the better our life is.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we might even see that with AI one day where it's searching across all our environments and it's just pushing it together that you can find and search with it. Like we've worked with tools that do that currently where you can actually search across multiple common data environments to find the information that you need and open it up, which is pretty cool. That's where the industry is probably going to head. Yeah, we don't have one single source that we can author in and produce information in, and that's how it is and it probably will be for the foreseeable future probably. But if we can find that information, I think that's key at the end of the day.
Yeah, when you kind of look at the current roadmap with this whole design world, we started in AutoCAD 2D designs, we then went to BIM, then through cloud we went to connected BIM, so we had better collaboration. Now we're moving into this outcome-based BIM where we're utilizing AI to assist us to interrogate the models, the project, the portfolio. So it's great to kind of watch this evolution.
Yeah, we're finally using the I in BIM at last. We got there. It took us a while.
Well, probably my last question for today, and I might pose it to each of you, is if you had one piece of advice for engineers watching who are looking to adopt ACC, what would it be? And we might start... Trent, sorry.
That's still mine.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say come to Archons first and we'll have that chat. But honestly, it's that change management piece. So it's really thinking about, okay, what does a environment like ACC do for you as a business? So what is your pain points that you're trying to solve? What's the return on investment? Really think about how you're going to transition to a product like this and what your pain points, your goals are, that you have the support within the business and the key kind of stakeholders is really important for me. That change management cannot be understated enough. Really look into the process of, yes, we want to go from here, but what is your end goal? What's your time frames? Do we have the resources to be able to do this? Don't just jump in and expect to find that. Come in with a plan and then look at transitioning. And obviously working with partners like us is going to help you.
Yeah, much the same. It's not a new thing. It's been around for a while. It's proven. I don't like to say that about many software solutions in our industry, but it's been around for ages now, and it's proven. So that whole big scary piece shouldn't be a problem for someone starting up. And again, it's relatively easy to set up. Let's be honest. It's not this big scary thing that you need coders for. It's all done. It's out of the box. It works. It's just setting it up the way that you want your company to work. And again, like I said before, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just taking things that you used to do on the server to a cloud-based solution. Every way you used to work, you can work the same on ACC, and that's what a lot of people are scared of. I think it's that big scary. Oh, it's another platform. It's another thing we have to train for. It's not that. Let's be honest. It's been set up for ease of use. That the Autodesk aren't going to release something like this to make it hard for us. If anything, it's made my life a hell of a lot easier. Working for a global corporation, I work on projects all over the world, and I've been with ACOM for 15 years, and so I've had the pain of the old school methodology of working on servers and getting VPNs and remote desktoping into PCs. Yeah, it happens. Don't laugh. There's none of that now with the platforms. Data sovereignty is another one. So the Middle East projects, we've got that data sovereignty now, and also with the Australian servers helping us be able to use it for defence projects. In short, it does what it says on the box, and it's relatively easy to set up. It's minimal training. Most organisations have digital people that are well aware of what it does, and they can implement it quite easily.
Letitia?
Yeah, no more things. I think ACC is a very user-friendly platform, but I would say, complementing on what they just said, don't underestimate the power of the training. Make sure they use as a comfortable upskill, because at the end, it's them doing the day-to-day work, doing the input on the data to make it easier for everyone. So my tip would be train, upskill, be willing to learn, receptive. to the tool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Considering you asked Trent for one thing and he gave about 8 of them, there's not much more I can say. But what I will say is it is a very powerful platform. Change management needs to be a positive thing. So you really need to sit down and plan for that change management. And to be honest, I think you're better engaging with people like us purely because we are in the platform all day, every day. We know how to get the most out of it quickly. But not only do we do the configuration based off requirements, but we also train users in their own platform. So it just gets them up and running a lot quicker at a fraction of the cost if they do it internally. A lot of the people that I speak to that try and do it internally tend to flounder for a while, use it pretty much like Dropbox, or complain that it doesn't work properly. And it works, they just haven't set it up properly. So yeah, I would recommend, look at all of your options, weigh up what it would cost to do it internally or externally, and you'll probably find there's better ROI in engaging, someone like us, because, we do this, we do it quickly, and we know how to do it well.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, before we wrap up, I would like to extend a big thank you to you all. So for our panelists today, Trent, Mike and Letitia from Arcants for sharing their expertise on Autodesk Construction Cloud, and of course to Darren from ACOM for joining us and offering his perspective from industry. Now, please keep an eye out. There will be a follow-up email with details on how to connect with the team and to take the next step in bringing ACC to your business. If I could also ask, there is a feedback, if you could click on that for me, just to ensure that we're learning and we're growing with the developing of these sessions for you, our audience. That would be brilliant. So finally, on behalf of the panel and myself, a big thank you again for joining us with today's session, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Industry Partners webinar. Good afternoon.